Jihadist black flag. A black field marked with the white shahada and a crude white seal beneath, flown by Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Al-Shabaab, and the Taliban since the 1990s. Its roots are traced to the Abbasid revolt, though no scripture mandates a black flag. The symbol is controversial because it operates as a visual pledge to jihadist movements directly tied to executions, mass casualty attacks, and Islamist governance projects. The UK, Netherlands, Austria, and Germany ban its display, treating it as material support for terrorism. Final line. This banner functions as a live extremism signal, drawing enforcement wherever it appears. Nazi flags. A red banner stamped with a black swastika became one of history's most feared visuals. Neo-Nazi groups still adapt it with SS runes, black sun circles, and Celtic crosses, each variation designed to keep Hitler's ideology alive. This flag's controversy is not subtle. It represents anti-Semitism, racial supremacy, and industrial-scale genocide. In Austria, Germany, France, Poland, Russia, and Ukraine, possession or display can lead to prosecution. The swastika flag remains so toxic that many governments treat it as a criminal object, not just a symbol. 3. Antifa flag. A black and red banner inside a circle, first flown in 1932 by Germany's Communist Party against the rise of fascism. It symbolizes anarchism and communism, but its meaning shifted as Antifa spread beyond Europe. In Germany, factions split into anti-imperialist, anti-Zionist, and anti-German blocs. In the US, the same design is linked to anti-capitalist and anti-state groups accused of extremist tactics. Governments classify parts of the movement as violent or terrorist, citing clashes with police and opponents. Supporters call it a defense against neo-Nazis. Critics see it as a mark of radical confrontation. The image is simple, but it endures as one of the most polarizing emblems of modern street politics. Flag of Israel. A white background with 2 blue stripes and the Star of David, adopted in 1948 after independence. The design copies the Talit prayer shawl, blue for divine justice, white for purity. At its core, the flag's dispute is Zionism. To supporters, proof of Jewish survival after centuries of persecution. To critics, a symbol of occupation that fuels one of the world's longest conflicts. Even within Judaism, Orthodox sects reject it as a secular misuse of a sacred emblem, and some rabbis forbid its use in synagogues. In Gaza and beyond, every escalation ties this flag to bloodshed, making it both a national emblem and a flashpoint of global protest. Hamas flags. Green field with the Shahada in white, the main emblem since Hamas took power in Gaza in 2007. Green carries Islamic weight, tied to paradise and prophecy. Variants mark the group's wings. The political flag shows crossed swords, Al-Aqsa Mosque, Palestinian flags, and a map of all Palestine, while the military wing repeats similar symbols. The controversy is sharp. Supporters call it resistance. Critics see terrorism and anti-Semitism. After the 2023 Hamas attack, its use triggered bans in Germany, Singapore, the UK, and several US states. Rainbow Pride flag. 6 horizontal stripes created in 1978 by Gilbert Baker in San Francisco, meant to represent diversity and inclusion. Over time, versions added black, brown, and trans colors, but the basic rainbow remains the most recognized. Its controversy is not in design, but in what it represents. Open support for LGBTQ+ rights. In countries like Germany and Norway, it's flown on government buildings, while in parts of the Middle East it is banned outright. Religious and cultural groups attack it as a threat to tradition, while activists defend it as a universal symbol of equality. Rising Sun flag. Japan. 16 red rays spread from a central sun, carried by Japan's imperial forces as they conquered Asia. It remains on naval ensigns and self-defense force units, defended in Japan as cultural tradition, and even used on merchandise or sports banners. But across Asia, it is remembered as a war flag. South Korea, North Korea, China, the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, and Taiwan connect it to forced labor, massacres, and decades of colonial rule. China equates it to the Nazi swastika, and survivors of atrocities continue to campaign for global bans. Each time the rising sun is raised, it reopens old wounds in Asia, standing not as heritage but as a battlefield scar that refuses to fade. Confederate battle flag. A blue saltire with white stars on a red field, introduced during the American Civil War to distinguish Confederate troops from Union forces. Over time, it became the most recognizable symbol of the Confederacy, earning the nickname Rebel Flag. Its modern controversy exploded in 2015, when South Carolina removed it from its state capital after the Charleston church massacre, forcing other southern states to reconsider their use. Supporters frame it as heritage and regional pride, but critics identify it as a banner of slavery, racism, and white supremacy. The divide is so strong that the flag is banned or restricted in many institutions, from NASCAR events to military bases. Soviet Union flag. A blood-red field with hammer, sickle, and star became the banner of a superpower that ruled half the globe. It flew above tanks in Prague, Berlin, and Budapest, stamped on every communist regime installed by Moscow. To its admirers, it stands for victory over fascism and socialist unity. To its detractors, it is the banner of purges, famine, and forced labor. The Soviet Union is gone, but the flag resurfaces at demonstrations from Moscow to Berlin. In Latvia, Lithuania, Poland, Hungary, and Ukraine, its display is illegal, classified as a hostile mark of occupation. Far from a relic, the Soviet flag remains an active fault line, carrying the weight of empire, oppression, and unresolved history. Apartheid South Africa flag. An orange, white, and blue tricolor carrying three smaller flags at its center, the Union Jack, the Orange Free State, and the South African Republic. It flew from 1948 to 1994, the years when apartheid was law, and its design came to embody white minority rule over politics, society, and the economy. For Black South Africans, it was not just a banner but a daily reminder of exclusion, segregation, and state-enforced racism. When Nelson Mandela's government took office in 1994, it was replaced by the multicolored national flag, and its public display is now banned. Courts classify it alongside hate speech, equating it with open support for apartheid. In South Africa today, the old flag survives only as a legal warning, a symbol so tied to oppression that it is criminalized on sight. Flag of China. The five-star red flag, raised in 1949, was designed to embody communist revolution and the rule of the Chinese Communist Party. Red marks the blood spilled in victory, the large star represents the party itself, and the four smaller stars stand for the classes it claims to unite. Its controversy lies in where it flies, over Tibet's forced annexation, Xinjiang's mass internment camps, and Hong Kong's crushed autonomy. Beijing presents it as a banner of unity and sovereignty, but abroad it is often seen as the mark of authoritarian expansion. Across Taiwan, the Pacific, and Western capitals, the flag provokes protest, treated less as a national emblem than as a symbol of repression and control. North Korean flag. Adopted in 1948 under Kim Il-sung, the flag features a wide red band flanked by blue stripes and edged in white, with a red star in a white circle. Interpretations vary. Red is said to represent anti-Japanese resistance, communism, or revolutionary tradition. White stands for Korean purity. Blue symbolizes peace or the surrounding seas. The star is universally tied to communism and the ruling Workers' Party. Its controversy comes from its bearer, North Korea's authoritarian regime. Abroad, the flag is synonymous with dictatorship, nuclear threats, and severe human rights abuses. In South Korea, its display is banned outright, treated as a symbol of hostility and repression. Gadsden Don't Tread on Me flag. A yellow field with a coiled rattlesnake and the warning, "Don't tread on me," first raised in 1775 by Christopher Gadsden for the Continental Navy. It once spoke with clarity, colonies ready to strike if Britain pressed further. Over 2 centuries, its meaning fractured. The Navy still uses it, libertarians frame it as a symbol of individual freedom, but militias and far-right groups have claimed it as a badge of defiance against federal authority. That appropriation shifted its image from revolutionary unity to a marker of division, where one flag can read as patriotism on a porch and extremism at a rally. PKK flag. A red field marked by a yellow sun disk and central red star, edged in green. Adopted in 1978, it became the banner of the Kurdistan Workers' Party, linking Kurdish identity to Marxist-Leninist revolution. Since 1979, it has flown in a war against Turkey that has killed tens of thousands through guerrilla raids, bombings, and reprisals. Ankara, the US, and the EU classify the PKK as a terrorist group, and in Germany and the UK, its flag is restricted as evidence of support. For Kurds, however, it remains the emblem of survival against military crackdowns and cultural erasure. That split keeps the PKK flag radioactive, terrorist insignia for states, liberation standard for its followers, and a symbol guaranteed to ignite confrontation wherever it is raised. West Papua Morning Star flag. A blue stripe with a white star beside red and white bands, first raised in 1961 when the Dutch prepared West Papua for independence. When Indonesia seized control in 1963, the Morning Star was outlawed, and raising it became a criminal act of treason. Sentences are severe. Activists have been jailed for decades simply for hoisting it, and some died in custody. To Papuans, it is the emblem of independence and cultural survival. To Jakarta, it is a direct challenge to sovereignty. The stakes are lethal. Since the takeover, over 100,000 Papuans have died in conflict and crackdowns. The Morning Star flag remains one of the most dangerous banners in the world, a national symbol to its people, a rebellion mark that Indonesia punishes on sight. Francoist Spain flag. Red, yellow, red tricolor stamped with the black eagle of Saint John, flown under Francisco Franco's dictatorship. It became the emblem of executions, forced labor camps, and censorship, tied to more than 100,000 deaths during his rule. Though replaced after Spain's transition to democracy, the flag resurfaces at far-right rallies, especially around Franco's exhumation in 2018. For most Spaniards, it is a mark of repression. For a fringe, a badge of loyalty. Each appearance reopens the wounds of dictatorship, keeping it one of Europe's most divisive flags. If you want to see how power punished the body as brutally as it policed symbols, watch our next video. All of history's worst punishments. Explained.